The Carolina Hurricanes have a reputation, I would say, for loyalty. Rod Brind'amour has a reputation for loyalty. There was a strong contingent of fans that didn't believe he would actually be able to move on from a guy like Brent Burns because there was loyalty built in there. I think that's a good reputation to have, by the way. Right? When it comes down to where do you want to play, if you're a free agent, you have options, and you're like, I could go to a place where they kind of ride or die with their guys, or I could go to a place where they treat you like pawns, and you're probably going to go to the place with a little bit more loyalty. So I'm not saying it's bad, but I am saying you don't have to look that far into the rearview mirror to see perception isn't always reality. Okay? Because right now, the Carolina Hurricanes are locked in, we're talking like 12 players for the next 4 years, something like that. And we're talking premier players, right? We're talking a bulk of their kind of stars, if you will.
And Eric Tulsky said those 12 players accounted for 65% of their goal scoring last year. And Nikolai Ehlers and Keandre Miller did not score any goals for the Carolina Hurricanes last year.
So at 65% plus those two guys is what they have locked in. And then on top of that, they're all 26 or younger, or most of them were 26 or younger, the forwards or something like that. Basically, the way Tulsky said it, and I'm paraphrasing, but this is just to spit it out so we can move on, is with the contracts they have now, they will not be cap restricted and they will not be in huge decline because of age. That's fantastic. That's great. And I was excited for it. And then I was scrolling through Twitter last night, and it was Chip Alexander of the News and Observer. He sent out a tweet, and this is the good stuff, right? Chip was cleaning out his desk, and if you go cover a game at the Lenovo Center, they walk around pregame with little roster sheets. Right, the lines that they're going to be starting with and little details, right, height, weight, all that kind of stuff. It's a starting lineup, essentially. And he found one in his desk as he was cleaning out from March of 2024. Now, he sent out a picture of it and basically said, a reminder of how things change. I looked at the record, right? I did a little sleuthing, went back and looked. So I pinned it down as March 14th, 2024. It was a game against the Panthers. That is, again, a little bit of math, but I did it before the show, so we should be okay. 504 days ago, also known as 16 and a half months. I'm going to read you the lines that this was a starting lineup for the Carolina Hurricanes 16 and a half months ago. Top line was Svech, Aho, Teuvo Teravainen. Second line, Gensel, Kuznetsov, Necas. So we're hot off the start. The top two lines, 4 of the 6 aren't even on the team anymore. The Martinook-Stahl line is and will forever be stable. Martinook, Stahl, and Jarvis. That's where they were pegged in or penciled in for that one. Fourth line of forwards, Nason, Kokoniemi, Fost. So one remains from that group. Go to the blue line, back to the defensemen. Slavin and Burns paired up. Shea and Pesce paired up. Orlov and Chatfield paired up. And this is just for fun. I'm really going to focus on the ones that were in the starting lineup. But healthy extras. Tony DeAngelo and Brendan Lemieux.
Oh, yeah.
Just a couple of names from way back when.
Our guy Micah, his guy, Brendan Lemieux.
Even when he was on the team, he was a healthy extra. But the reason why I was looking at this was the Canes have this reputation for loyalty and for stability and for once you become part of the inner circle of trust, once you become somebody that Rod Brind'amour trusts, you have this leash or this commitment. Yet 16 and a half months ago, only 8 skaters remain, which means 10 have been flipped over. 10 have been turned over, and these aren't just like end-of-the-bench guys shuffling up, $1.5 million contracts. A lot of these guys got paid elsewhere. I know Gensel was only here for a snap, but he got paid elsewhere. Necas is doing his best to get paid elsewhere. He doesn't really care where. He just wants like top line minutes, top power play, and money. Teuvo Teravainen, Kuznetsov's trying to come back to the league. Like these guys have spread out. Shea and Pesci got paid. Spread out. Orlov got paid. They're still legit NFL or NHL guys, but it just shows not many teams get in the situation that the Canes find themselves in now. Not even the Canes. Not even a team that values that sort of thing. It is rare to be in a situation where you have the core, and not just the core of like, 4 guys or 3 guys locked up long-term. You have a core of like double-digit skaters that you're confident in, locked up for 3 and 4 years into the future, and cap's going up, and draft picks still available, and prospects that you can spare. It doesn't happen often, not even for a front office that largely has executed a lot of the things in the past.
Well, I think a lot of these guys that you mentioned were part of that previous group of stability.
Mm-hmm.
Like Brady Shea was with the team for essentially 4+ seasons. Yep. Brett Pesci was with the team for 9. Yep. And then Teuvo Teravainen was with the team for 8. Necas, 6+ seasons essentially with the Canes.
Which is a great point, because think about what that says about what the Canes just pulled off right under our nose. They've flipped the core from a group you were loyal to, you were confident in, and you gave a good, half a decade chunk to a new group that you're loyal to, you're confident in, and you're expecting to give a good half a decade chunk to, and you never dropped off. You never rebuilt. You never had the reset year. You never, tanked and drafted first overall. You never did any. You just continued to make the playoffs and win postseason series, made it to an Eastern Conference Finals, and then we just kind of glanced down and went, holy cow, more than half the roster is turned over. They're maybe more talented, definitely younger, and set up for another window. It happens so often. I talk about championship windows in every sport. And so often it happens where you get a 3 or 4 or 5 year window and you have to go for it in such a way that if you don't get your ring in that window, if you don't get your cup in that window, it feels like the biggest, most massive, most disappointing loss of all time, because you're staring at bad contracts, right? The veterans that you gave huge money to trying to win in that window now still have 3 more years at super high salaries left. The picks or the young players that you'd be looking to grow into the roles that are being vacated by the guys that helped you compete in that window aren't there because you traded them away for win now pieces in that window. The Canes have been slowly turning it. I don't even want to say slowly. In 16 months, have turned it over almost, definitely not almost, more than half. And they never stopped competing along the way. There's none of that dreaded doom, right? Think about something like what Toronto's going through, right? They had their core 4, and they went for it. And now it kind of feels like they're, all right, we're staring at the abyss here a little bit. We're going to have to try to weather this storm and hopefully rebuild something that can compete. Now imagine if, instead of that feeling, you just looked down and went, oh, we're in the same position again. When did that happen? Now you get another try. And I'm not here to say that, not getting a cup out of the last 5 years or not getting a cup out of the last 7 is okay, but it doesn't sting as bad when you're staring at another 5 or 7 years in front of you where you feel like you can go after it again. By the way, we were just talking about this during the commercial break. The Athletic put out the top 10 worst contracts in the NFL. The other day we were talking about they put out a list of the top 10 best, and this is their analytics. How much value are you getting versus how much you're being paid? Brady Shea they have is the 4th worst contract in the league.
Signed 7 years at $7 million a year with Nashville last offseason.
And the Athletic is expecting or predicting, whatever their algorithm says, $2.6 million worth of value, getting paid $7 million. Talk about I always say it's better to leave a year early from a player than a year too late. That's leaving at the perfect time. That is like his value will drop on Tuesday, so we'll go ahead and move on from him Monday evening. Like that is that close. And then you turn around and what do you replace him with? Well, I mean, Keandre Miller or Alexander Nikishin or whoever you're throwing into that.
Sean
Walker, whoever you're throwing into that defensive spot is probably on a contract that is about $2.6 million if you're looking at the lower end of that group I just mentioned. But you hopefully are getting $5 to $7 million worth of value out of it. It is something that should not be taken for granted. That is, I said earlier today, I'm going to try to be optimistic today. This whole segment, this last 6 minutes of me talking is just don't take it for granted. Don't to switch over 10 players on your starting skating line in 16 months takes so many decisions. It's not one. It's 100 decisions to do that and to get them right, not everyone, but to get them right often enough, higher percentage enough to still feel like you're in a championship window on the other side of that is insane degree of difficulty. And I've seen in every sport so many times, most GMs want to do it this way, right? They want to, we're not rebuilding, we're not resetting, we're retooling. And they try to do that, and they mess it up bad enough that eventually they go, all right, we got to reset here. We got to rebuild. We got to, eat some cap hits and get out of here and get some high draft picks and start over. The Canes made it on the other side, and they look like they're right at the beginning of a window. And it happened right under our nose. And sometimes it does take something random like, a reporter cleaning out their desk and looking at a starting lineup and going, holy cow, this wasn't that long ago. 16 and a half months. That's nothing in team building. Where patience and discipline are so valued. 16 and a half months is nothing. And now everybody's locked up for the next 4 years. Not everybody, but feels like it.
Yeah, a lot of guys locked up for 4, if not longer.
Yeah, some 9. I like that.